Yogendra Yadav has made 4 suggestions about how the MSP should be implemented. The first thing to note is that this cannot be done through a legislated process. So the legislated guarantee that they were talking about, these the farmers, BKU, etc., simply is not part of these 4 suggestions. He's basically doing more or less what the current system is, which is the government chooses what it wants to purchase. And so these are the 4 proposals. He says the government should buy more than what it does today, and particularly the lentils and dals. So he's not saying that the government should buy everything, okay, at the MSP. He's now saying there is no need for the legislated MSP. The government should buy more than what it does today. He should explain that there are these mountains and mountains of food grain that are rotting in this country, wasting and being eaten by rats, and they're getting wet under the rain. So what exactly, why should the government buy more than what it is already doing today? And secondly, that is not linked with the legal guarantee that these farmers have been agitating about. So this proposal is more or less what is already happening. It wants the government to spend more money than what it's already doing. The mountains of food grain that are rotting will become bigger. I don't think this makes any sense. So let's go to the second proposal. He now says that, okay, let there be a situation where the government can't purchase directly, but will give a subsidy between the market rate and MSP. And he cites a particular example of Haryana. Now, I hope he understands that this will be the biggest corruption scheme in the entire history of the world, where every single purchase has to be recorded, has to be certified, has to have some kind of approval process, and then a subsidy is released by some corrupt person. So the entire system is a bunch of extreme, badly designed policy proposal. What is already happening, that the mountains of food sitting out there, the wasting, they're not required. The MSP has to be based on policy process rather than this kind of random thing that, okay, let the government purchase, and subsidize the rate between that and the MSP. The third one is let the government buy only 10%, he says. So from the original idea that the government should buy everything at MSP, he says just buy 10%, and that will increase the prices to MSP. Well, that depends upon the demand curve for every single crop, and it's no such guarantee about this particular thing in the first place. If it was already happening, with the mountains of food grain, then the MSP issue would have not been there at all. So it's the supply and demand changes for every season. It is not a universal rule that the government should buy 10% of the crops. So Yogendra Yadav, please learn some basic economics if you can. I know you can't. You are a hardcore socialist. You're a hardcore communist. You will never understand any basic logic of economics. But if you can, please go and try to read some basic, 101 economics. I'm not asking you to read any advanced PhD, okay? So just go and try to study something. And then he says, change the import-export policy. Well, that exactly is the reason why the farmers are being looted. We know today that the government, makes sure that farmers will never get a higher price, and that stops them from exporting when they can get a higher price. So it imports when the prices are high. So the farmer is then, the imports are low cost imports are flooded into the market, and reverses, so that the farmer, when there is a shortage inside the country, and the higher price outside, the farmer cannot export. So by controlling the farmer in every single way, the government is blocking their progress. That is part of the negative subsidy. And so the idea to change import-export policy is correct, but the direction of the policy is not made clear, and that is not linked with the MSP in any case. So now he's moved out from the MSP field guarantee, etc. So the 4 suggestions do not require a legal guarantee. So the farmers should simply pack up and go home. Their proposal is complete nonsense. Second, if there is an import policy issue, then we should discuss. This is something that it is required, and the government should stop blocking imports and exports under any circumstance. There should be no blockage. This is exactly what good economics does. Sadly, the entire farmers' leaders are being misguided by these hardcore communists. In fact, I looked at the list of the BKU, whatever the Sanghash organization. They're full-fledged hardcore communists sitting out there. So this communists and the Congress party, who are basically nothing but communists, they are using this as a political strategy to beat the BJP. Now, I am not a great fan of BJP. I really, they are completely wrong on thousands of things, but on this particular idea of farm reform, they were right. And so I was supporting them in principle. We should always support a good policy, even if it is done by the enemy of liberty. In this case, the BJP was right. Now, of course, they are withdrawn the laws. Now this MSP proposal has come up. This is completely rubbish. In fact, what Yogendra Yadav is saying is not even MSP. Yeah, legal guaranteed MSP. He doesn't know what he's talking. The man is completely, delusional. He's a so-called advisor of the farmers, and farmers are getting this kind of third-rate advice. I suggest strongly the farmers come and have a chat with Anil Ghanwat and with myself, and we can show them how to solve the problem of the farmers rather than listening to these communists like Yogendra Yadav.